Vote to change the society. It's your voice.
You're welcome. How was your week? Mine was okay. Mine was very, very okay. I hope you had a great week too. I'm Wale Ogwande, your host on this program. With me is,
Yes, it was Blossom, of course.
yeah, so Rose Blossom. How was your week?
It was amazing.
Amazing. Yeah, this week is going to be an interesting week. What we have is a potpourri of a very, very important topic. But before we go there, I want us to please just celebrate even the death of the Queen of the world. I call her the Queen of the world. Very amiable, very, very, very passionate, above all, very respectful. She did not carry that queenship around. Well, on voters forum here, we pray that God will grant her eternal rest, and that we that are still around, we too just have to live along. You're welcome to this program.
All right, so yes, and of course, I'll say again, you're welcome. My name is Rose Blossom, and it's going to be an amazing one today. We'll be talking about a whole lot of things, and you definitely want to stay glued because it's going to be quite interesting. And do not forget, you can actually be part of this show because how do you get part of it? You can send messages to a number that will be displayed on the screen TV, and of course we are streaming live on all our social media platforms, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter, and it's at Galaxy TV. So you're welcome to be part of the show. Let's quickly go on a short break, and we'll be right back. Of course, we have a guest in the house, and Barrister will be introducing him, but let's go on a short break. We'll be right back. As the clock ticks and the waves of 2023 elections caught from afar, we readily read the minds of the 2023 contestant. Nigeria has been afflicted.
The task of governing a vast and somewhat complex country like Nigeria is quite demanding. As such, the arms of government over the years have evolved to suit the country's rather peculiar form of democracy, which is a model copied from the United States of America, according to analysts and observers. These arms of government, the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary, all work together to achieve what is termed the dividends of democracy. The legislature. The legislature is the law-making body of the government. Voting of money, budget approval, and performing oversight functions falls within its duties. Nigeria operates a bicameral legislature. This means there are two parts, the Senate and the House of Representatives. There are 109 senators representing the senatorial districts and 360 members representing all federal constituencies. The Senate is headed by the Senate President, while the House of Representatives is headed by the Speaker. These lawmakers find their way to the National Assembly after being elected by their people to serve a 4-year tenure as their representatives. The Executive. This seems like the most visible arm in Nigeria's governance structure because it is the one that performs the task of administering the country. Nigeria operates a presidential system of government, so this particular organ is headed by the president, who appoints ministers to assist him in the task of governance. The primary function of the executive is to implement government policies and programs as well as enforce public laws. The president is elected into office to serve for 4 years. The judiciary. The judiciary is the arm of government responsible for interpreting the law made by the legislature and prescribes the punishment for those who break the law. They serve as the custodian of the Constitution and safeguard the rights and liberties of the citizens. The judiciary is organized in a hierarchy comprising the Magistrate Court, High Court, the Appeal Court, and the Supreme Court. The Chief Justice of Nigeria is the head of the judiciary. Godfrey Shemage for Galaxy News.
Now is the time to be called out by the people you promise to serve. Are you a leader that is responsible, selfless, and dynamic to turn around the misfortunes of the nation, Nigeria? Why don't you sell your manifestos to the people on Scorecard? Galaxy TV is offering you an opportunity to speak directly to the people on your plans to make life better for Nigerians. Scorecard provides you the time and a chance of a lifetime to be the man and serve. Scorecard, towards a better Nigeria.
You're welcome back. The topic is what you've just heard. The arms of government, 3 arms of government. You've been hearing government, 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 government. But do you know the nitty-gritty about it? Do you know what it takes for the government to be formed? And do you know what government's work and functions are, particularly those who occupy these offices? That is why we have taken this topic today, and we have brought someone who will give and shed light onto this matter. And no other person than Matthias Emeribe. He is a lawyer of long-standing repute who knows his onion very well, not only in the courtroom, but even on the street. We've been together doing some street wahala. But I won't talk again too much. He will, by the time, you know, they say the taste of the pudding is in the eating. So I'm sure by the time he finishes, you know that indeed he's someone. He's going to tell us and educate us more on the functions of the 3 arms of government, how they interact and interrelate. Matthias, you are welcome to this program.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good afternoon, viewers.
Yes.
And I hope we are having a lovely day, because this is a highly interesting and educative program. And I believe that perhaps at the end of the day, we'll have enough to rejoice and talk about concerning our country. And most importantly, is the fact that the program is an enlightenment program made purposely to educate the public on their do's and the don'ts concerning how they should come into governance. Unfortunately, what we have had over time is that when we hear government, we tend to believe that we are dealing with people who are spirits living up, while the rest are down. And to that extent, we tend to be aloof concerning how the affairs of our nation is governed.
Yes.
I want to believe that perhaps by the end of this program, we will be informed and educated as to what we should know and how we will contribute to make it a success.
Yes. No.
But once again, I've said it, that this is an enlightening program, very educative, and of course I want to thank the management of Galaxy for this very beautiful program they have introduced.
Thank you so much.
It will be very, very important to say it, because I know that very many people, especially those who do not have the opportunity of actually peeping into fully what government does, this would give an opportunity.
So let's go cracking. Let's go cracking.
Very well.
How do you form government? What is it? What brought about this idea of these 3 arms of government? Through where? Where's the origin?
Now, let me simply say, because you know, it is a product of what we may call research, in the sense that when we go back into the Greek time, so to say, in historical times,
Okay.
Yes.
you know, government is run by purely a monarch,
Yes.
so to say, who of course is the lawmaker, or better still, the lawgiver, is the one that executes the law, is the one that equally interprets the law. So is simply in one person, and therefore giving room for what you may call tyranny. That's where the concept of tyranny came about.
Okay.
Now, for purposes of trying to do what? To make sure that the masses of the people are involved, there was need for this position, for them to come up with a position wherein there is need not to vest the entire power or the apparatus of the state into just one particular person, because somebody will tell you that absolute power corrupts, and power corrupts absolutely, and of course the import of that is that by the time you are vested with an uncontrollable power, the tendency is for you to go awu. So consequently, bringing it home to our Nigerian concept, the Constitution of 1979, basically, because the 63 Constitution, which is a Republican Constitution in nature, was more or less vested the executive and the legislative power in just one arm. And of course, the judiciary was still there anyway, so meaning that you have just barely two under the Republican Constitution. But with the present Constitution we have, which commenced from 1979, there was a creation of three arms: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, which was borrowed from America. Okay. Because having seen how the American independence worked, we, Nigeria, we felt that if we have failed in the First Republic, there is need for us to look elsewhere and see what will match or carry on, particularly with respect to the fact that we have a heterogeneous society, particularly with multifaceted, you know, tribe, ethnic group, religious, and therefore you are looking for a system that will work for all. So to that extent, having taken from the Americans, there was need for us to say, okay, this is the kind of system we think that will work best for us. So by 1979, like I said, that was when the Constitution brought in these three separate arms of government. And of course, the 1999 Constitution has followed what? Suit. That's why you have the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature.
So, do they have, can you just quickly tell us before we go for another break, their functions? What does the legislature does, the executive, and the judiciary?
Yes. Now, by the virtue of Section 4, 5, and 6 of the 1999 Constitution, Section 4 deals with the legislature, whose primary goal and ultimate goal is lawmaking, and equally to do what? Oversee that area where they make law. That's what you call the oversight function. For the executive, which is Section 5 of the Constitution, theirs is nothing but administrative, which is to execute the law made by the legislature. While Section 6, which is the judiciary, theirs is to interpret the law made by the legislature. So they are the ones that are vested with power to interpret. Now, they are separate, but their actions or inactions, whichever way you want to interpret it, are coexisting. In other words, they are made for purposes of governance, that one purpose. While they are independent, they are not exclusively independent, they work together.
Yes. Quickly.
Yeah.
Some few seconds ago, you said that people look at government as if they are occupied by ghosts. Yes. You have explained now, are these people, these offices, are they occupied by ghosts or by people?
No.
And how did they get there?
Now, these are people who are product of the society.
Good.
The people that occupy each of these arms of government are product of our society. And therefore, what you find them doing is a replica of what the followers appear to say they like.
Okay.
It's unfortunate that sometimes we tend to see that when most of them are acting, we tend to do what? Alienate ourselves from them as if they are not part and part of that society. And that is why whatever policy that they came up with, whether we like it or not, we will be bound by what they have done. And that is the only way we can, it's only when we on ourselves have a redress. In other words, we ask ourselves a fundamental question. Is this the society we want for ourselves and our children? Not until we answer that question will we be able to do what? Do the right thing, and to know that, no, these people, we only sent them. If they are not doing well, what happens? Either two things. It's either we are recalling them back, or on the next election, do what? Put them out and bring those that will do what? Do our bidding. Unfortunately, the only arm that is not involved in election is the judiciary. It's just that there is a system they have which they use in purging themselves of those who are what you may call the bad eggs within that system.
Before purging, how did they get? How did these
How do they get
people
into the position
of the in the judicial system?
Now, that's why I said, naturally, going by what we have, now let me go by the Constitution itself. Now, the Constitution itself recognizes the following, recognizes the judiciary. Now, having recognized that, what it does is that in terms of those who will occupy that seat, they must be qualified first.
Okay.
In other words, some of them, before you are made to be a judge, by extension, you must be a qualified lawyer. So in other words, the tendency is that you must have been tutored in the law program to know what our laws are. For you now to rise or go up to become a judicial body, officer. Now, to that extent, for instance, in the High Court, taking the High Court, for instance, the appointment is normally done by what? The state government, as it were. There, the recommendation of the NJC, National Judicial Council. They recommend who should come in, then the appointment is made by and then confirmation by the state governor, particularly with respect to the CJs and others. It's in the Supreme Court, or the Supreme Court justices. That's where you have all three arms getting involved in the appointment of them, so to speak. In other words, if you want to, if you are coming in, or they make you a CJN, Chief Justice of Nigeria, you cannot become that, just like the current Chief Justice of Nigeria is. That's why it's in an acting capacity. Not until a confirmation is made by the Senate would he now be sworn in fully as the Chief Justice of Nigeria. Sorry. Meaning that the head of that very institution must be somebody, even though he wasn't elected, but it must be somebody that those who were elected must agree that this is the person we want. So in other words, by implication, indirectly, there's an involvement of the masses, because if you elected people, the presumption is that you have your trust that these people can do it for me. The same people that were elected will not be the one that will not say, I confirm this person to be our chief justice because we believe that he can do what will be in the interest of the masses.
Okay, so I want to ask the question, is there a duration, is there an experience that is needed for them to actually even be selected? Is it just being a lawyer, you're professional?
No, that's why I said now, in the concept of appointing judicial officers, if you take the issue, that's why I said first, qualification, you must first be qualified to be a lawyer. That's number one. Then number two is that there are what you call an advert put up by NGC for what you may call expression of interest for those who are interested to become judges. Okay. Now, in recent time, for instance, in the Supreme Court, there was this advert that was put up for those who are interested to become justices of the Supreme Court to apply. And many SAN, many what you may call senior lawyers and so on and so forth applied, including judges. You know? Though what you normally will have is that NJC, in scrutinizing judges probably from the Court of Appeal, they will know the ones that feel they think that feel and then make a recommendation. Yes, make a recommendation for them to be elevated to the apex body, which is the Supreme Court. Now, in the same vein, when you want to bring in people to the High Court, you may be like, if you come to the High Court, like in Lagos State, for instance, you have some who are from the Magistrate Court cadre, those ones who have been practicing judicial actions, as it were. Then you have lawyers too, who, of course, probably by virtue of the appearance that most of the judges who see them have done, they may say, we recommend you to bring so and so people to come to the bench. So it's not as if, but like I said, ultimately you must be what? A qualified lawyer who knows the law before all of these things. So there are many things.
Ask the question, do they have a term?
A term that
the
you have to have the experience for 6 years or 8 years or 12
before you
years
become a judge.
Now for the High Court, for instance, for you to be, initially it used to be about 10 years. I think of recent they have reduced it, but one thing is that if you are not if you have not been in practice for about 10 years, you cannot be made a judge. So, like I said, there's none that doesn't have his own qualification.
But does it work here? Let's assume, let's assume someone graduates at the age of, say, 23 or 24, and you have an experience of 10 years, that's like 34, 35.
Yes.
Would they actually pick this person to be a chief judge? I'm talking about a judge, rather.
Judge.
Yeah, a judge. Would the person be able
the concept, okay, now, for a judge, for you to, whether you are 35, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you have been in practice.
Okay.
And you have the necessary experience.
Okay.
Now, like I said, it's not enough. That is why they normally go for an interview. Because you must be able to know that this person has the wherewithal to actually administer justice.
Because it's powerful.
You understand? So if you do not have the wherewithal, you must have had, that's why some people, they might even stay there 20 years, nobody will look at their this, notwithstanding the application. The reason is because after going through the test, they did not meet the minimum requirement for them to be there. Because for you to be a judge, it takes a lot. Because you cannot be a judge if you allow your emotion to take more of your reasoning. You know, in being a judge, what it does is for you to detach yourself from the society. In other words, the emotions of the society must first of all be taken off, and you allow your reason to prevail. And it's in that way that you can do justice to the society. In the absence of it, nobody will make you a judge.
Is there, because of time, is there an interrelationship between these three arms of government in their duty, in their workings, practically? Is there any interaction?
Yes.
Or friction?
Yes.
Quickly, within 3 minutes, please.
Yes. You know, just like what we said before, you have the legislature as the first arm of government.
Yes.
The executive the second, and the judiciary the third. Now, ultimately, when the legislature makes law, the law is for the good governance of the country.
Yes.
Now, laws cannot act by itself.
Yes.
Somebody must execute the law.
Good.
And who are the people vested with the power to execute the law? The executive.
Yes.
Now, they are the ones that will not see this law and say, this is how it should apply. Okay. Now, it's in the process of application that there could be different form of interpretation given to that very law that is being applied. And now, when people are not satisfied, it's on that basis that will say, no, I don't think the intendment of this law that was made by the lawmaker is for you to act this way.
Okay.
No, to that extent, please let us go before the court, who is vested with the power to say, okay, please can you tell us what is the intendment, what is intended by virtue of this law that was made? And it's to that extent that you now have the judiciary coming to now say, this is the position. And the judiciary will only interpret in line with the point that it must fall in line with the policy of government. In other words, it must be interpreted in a way that will be, you can't say maybe because if you go to Cameroon, they have a special, no. We have our own society, we have our goal, we know what we are pursuing. So if that law is to be interpreted, it will be interpreted in line with that particular goal. So you cannot say because in Cameroon they interpret it this way, it can only be persuasive to that extent, and that is where it ends.
Okay. All right, well, our time is almost up. Let's go on a short break first before we come back. We have a lot of questions definitely for you. And yes, thank you guys for staying tuned. I hope you are enjoying and you're learning. I'm also learning because at a point I didn't know about how they actually work together, legislative, the executive, and the judiciary. But thanks to Barrister Matthias, he has actually explained all of that. You can get more of this. Of course, we're streaming online on all social media platforms at Galaxy TV, where you can be part of it. And do not forget, you can also be part of the show by telling us what is in your mind. Please also indicate your name and where you're sending the message from. And please do not call the line. You can only send messages to the line. So let's quickly go on a short break, and we'll be right back to continue what we're discussing. Stay with us.